Welcome to the Jaguar Podcast, a show where we discuss all things related to Duval County's finest NFL football team, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Blue 42, set, what?
Duval, baby!
Hey everybody, this is Andrew and welcome to episode 37 of the Jaguar Podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be doing a game recap of the matchup between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Indianapolis Colts. So let's jump into it. Unfortunately, this was a miserable Monday. We lost this game to the Colts 33-13. I mean, this was just a stinker. It was a beatdown. Just terrible. I mean, tough to watch. Still, it took me a while to get this episode out. Still kind of recovering from watching that game because it was a bad one. Our playoff hopes are diminishing rapidly at this point. It was pretty demoralizing watching it. Just we couldn't stop the run. We kind of quit in the fourth quarter, which wasn't good. The Jaguars couldn't run the ball. Kind of went away from the runs. Tried to throw the ball. Foles looked good that second drive where he threw that touchdown pass to DJ Chark. And then from there, it kind of went downhill. Indianapolis answered with a nice score. Jacoby Brissett, he was on fire. He just lit us up. And, I got to give it up to the Colts. They played a great game. Foles was really rusty in this game. He threw a pick. It just was not a very well thrown ball, underthrown into double coverage, and it was picked off. He also threw another interception on the 2-point conversion attempt in the fourth quarter, I believe. So, Foles, I think he's going to be a little rusty. He really hasn't played a complete game before this one. He was kind of knocked out on the second series in the Kansas City game, but defense was atrocious. Just terrible. Couldn't stop the run. Couldn't tackle. Marlon Mack had a great play where he essentially bounced off of 3 of our defenders and scored a touchdown. It was just really pathetic tackling, and it was just really embarrassing to watch. Miles Jack just looked confused out there. Was missing plays, just out of position the whole time. He's looking to be kind of a bust this season, I think, after we extended him. I think he's only really had 1 interception, not many great plays. So, I think my theory on Miles Jack and that whole contract extension decision was not good, and it's turning out, I believe, to not be good. But we'll see what happens. We'll see if his performance changes in the next couple games. Penalties were terrible this game. 81 yards of, penalties. We are 8th in the NFL in penalties. I mean, that is just terrible. It's just terrible. I can't reiterate how bad that is. This team is undisciplined. I mean, they're clearly undisciplined. Stupid penalties. We had 2 pass interference calls on Trey Herndon. That's terrible. Again, just not very good. We had some penalties on our offensive line. Jawan Taylor, another holding penalty, and then Andrew Norwell, another holding penalty there. It's just ridiculous. I'm getting tired of Andrew Norwell. I'm so done with him. I'm just ready for him to disappear. I'm hoping, maybe we could throw Will Richardson in there and, see what happens because Andrew Norwell is just turning out to be a bust, in my opinion. Again, with the defense, I think Todd Wash, our defensive coordinator, he's got to go. The defensive play calling was terrible. I just think we should have blitzed more. We should have been more aggressive. We couldn't stop the run. We couldn't plug those gaps. The defensive line was getting blown off the ball. Taven Bryan and Avery Jones, just weren't able to do anything. Weren't able to get any, penetration. Again with Taven Bryan, I mean, there was a fumble there. He should have recovered that. That was kind of a huge miss there. So I think he's playing for his job, Todd Wash. We'll see what happens in the Titans game, but I think if it's another blowout like last season where Derrick Henry had that huge 90-yard run, I think we're going to see some changes. Hopefully we could get Dom Capers in there, in charge of the play calling. And, hopefully we'll see a difference. But let's jump into the box score here on offense. Quarterback Nick Foles, 33 for 47, 296 yards, 2 touchdowns, one official interception, but really 2 if you count the botched 2-point conversion. I'm hoping he plays better. He looked great on that second drive, but, kind of fell apart. I think that may have been due to some of the play calling. We need to be a lot more aggressive on the play calling, but, I'm hoping we run the ball and be a little bit more aggressive in the air against Tennessee because it's going to be a tough game. But, on the ground rushing, Leonard Fournette, 8 carries, 23 yards, 2.9 yards per carry. Didn't see much of him in this game. He had, a couple nice runs there, but we kind of went away from, the running game and went to the air. He caught a couple screen passes. I think he had 7 receptions for 34 yards. So he's been nice in the air, catching the ball out in the flats. But, we got to be more aggressive. This guy's a great back. He is a power back. He needs the ball. I mean, he needs the ball, I would say at least 20 times a game. But he, in interviews, he says, ideally he needs about 30. I don't know how much I agree with that, but, in terms of durability. But work, Rock Armstead in there, but give him the ball. I mean, he needs the ball. We need to pound the football. We're a running team. And, I think we're going to have to run the ball against Tennessee to be effective. Rock Armstead, our other running back, really 1 carry for 6 yards. Didn't see much of him. I saw, him really come in more during the fourth quarter, just on the kind of passing plays and in protections. But, yeah, not much on the ground in this game. Receiving, DJ Chark was just incredible this game. 8 receptions, 104 yards. He's been really incredible the whole season. 2 touchdowns in this game. Chris Conley did a pretty good job as well. 6 receptions, 58 yards. Keelan Cole made an appearance in this game again. 4 receptions, 41 yards. Nice to see him kind of, getting a little bit more playing time. Again, I always kind of err on the side of caution because, he fumbles the ball a lot.
Idiot!
But, we'll see what happens. I'm hoping that his ball security is a little bit better. And, would ultimately like to, see him be successful on this team. I think we have a lot of weapons in the air and, in our wide receiving core. So we definitely need to utilize them more. It just didn't seem like we could this game. It seemed like, we weren't going for the big plays. We were kind of running these slants and these short pass plays and wasn't really making much headway on moving the chains. So I want to see us a lot more aggressive in the next game. Defense, again, I can't say much about the defense. They weren't very good this game. There were some standout plays by our defensive ends. Yannick Ngakoue had 1 sack, and I believe it was, I think he had a forced fumble there too. And then Josh Allen had a sack early on in the first quarter. Jared Wilson had a nice sack, and then I believe he also had an interception too. So, Jared Wilson, played very well in this game. Nice to see him getting in there, making plays. Special teams were not good in this game. Josh Lambo missed his, I believe it was his first field goal he missed. So that wasn't too good. There was a very nice special teams play on a punt. We recovered a fumble, kind of bounced off of one of the Indianapolis Colts players, and then Donald Payne came up with the nice fumble recovery there. So that was a great play. But yeah, man, it's just this was a tough one to watch. I think this was definitely a winnable game. I think a lot of things kind of broke down. The play calling wasn't good. You really didn't see Leonard Fournette much in this game. That was really disappointing. Not only because he's one of my favorite Jaguars players, but, he's a great back. And, he's a real powerful asset to the Jacksonville, offensive scheme. And, I think he's just going to be really effective and necessary for us to win football games. So, there has been a lot of, hating on Nick Foles after this game. Oh, bench him, bench Nick Foles. I just think that's stupid.
Idiot.
I just can't say how stupid that would be because, we invested so much money in this guy. He is a playmaker. Of course he's going to be a little rusty. I'm not an excuses guy. I mean, he did make some bad plays in this game, but I think if he looks anything like he did in the second drive of this game, we could win some football games. And he's going to need to show up to the Tennessee Titans game. But I feel like Tennessee is like our kryptonite. Every time I watch the Tennessee game, I just want to tear my eyes out. It's just kind of a stinker, and it's been that way in the past. So we'll see what happens. Stay positive, guys. Let me know how you feel about this game. Leave a comment on the YouTube video or podcast episode. If you enjoyed this video, give me a like. Leave me some feedback on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to the channel. Go Jags, and I'll see you next time.
Let me get that. JYD coming up with the big sack. Quarterbacks beware, we on the prowl. Game day night, you could hear it in our growl. Intimidation on to keep their hearts racing. Eating other teams live on TV front of the nation. Spectacular defensive scheme.
This episode is available on the Jaguar Podcast YouTube channel. So if you stop by, make sure to subscribe and give this video a like. Also, these episodes are available on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and other major podcast distributors as well. So if you don't mind, please leave me a review and some feedback. I'd really appreciate that. If you'd like to connect with me on social media, my Twitter handle is @JagWarPodcast. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. This is Andrew signing off. Cheers.